The Killers, that rock pop band, they've been criticised because the band's frontman invited a Russian fan on stage during a concert in the neighbouring country of Georgia. Take a look.
Yeah, come on! This guy in the stripes is ready. You can't recognize that someone's your brother? He's not your brother? No, we all separate on the borders of our countries. That's where you want to separate it all? So I'm not your brother? Am I not your brother? Being from America, am I your brother? No. I'm not your brother?
I mean, he just keeps going. I want to give you some context to this. I've spent a lot of time in Russia. I've also spent a lot of time in Georgia. And in case you're not aware, Georgia has been militarily and aggressively occupied by Russian forces. 20% of that country has been for the last few years or so. They do not feel like brothers in that country. It's enormously offensive to Georgian people to do that. But he just didn't stop, did he? So is this sort of just a bit of ignorance on the band's part? Highly unlikely it was malicious. They have apologised since. But to talk about this a bit more, I'm joined by the author, podcast host and comedian Konstantin Kishin. Konstantin, thank you. What did you feel when you saw that? Do you think that they realised what they were doing at any point?
I don't know. As someone who is half Russian, half Ukrainian, I understand the difficulties here. And this is unfortunately what happens when a country illegally invades another country. All of the bonds that existed between Russians and Ukrainians and Georgians only a few decades ago are now being broken in this way. And so it becomes a very sensitive subject. I think it's probably an ill-advised thing to do in Georgia, even though his message is actually, I think, quite a healthy one, which is beyond the politics and beyond war, people are brothers and sisters. I think that's a good message to get out. But I think in this particular instance, it was not helpful.
No, and you sort of heard him going, well, you know, I'm American, aren't I your brother too? And then you got sort of mixed reaction from the crowd in Georgia. But it just seemed like he really missed the mark. Is it a case for musicians and performers just not making political statements at all?
Well, people are allowed to make whatever statements they make, and then if they get the reaction that he got, they apologize. I actually think this has been quite a normal and maybe the way that we should be handling things. You know, we talk often about people being cancelled for saying the wrong thing, etc. I actually think what's happened here is they did something perhaps out of good intention, didn't go down the way they intended. They apologized. We can all move on.
OK, let's move on then and talk about some alleged Russian spies in the UK. You've been following this story as well. This news revealed in a police statement yesterday that these alleged Bulgarian nationals have been working for Russian security forces. We explored this story on the show yesterday with Bill Browder. And I just wanted to get your opinion on it as well, whether or not you think the spy threat is being taken seriously in the UK.
Well, I'm relieved that it's being taken at least somewhat seriously. As you know, and I'm sure your audience will know, this isn't the first time in America. We had the case of a so-called Anna Chapman, who was found out to be a Russian spy, arrested, and eventually returned to Russia. She was made a TV host and a catwalk model there. And of course, Andrei Lugovoy, who's one of the two men responsible for murdering Alexander Litvinenko here in Britain, he went back to Russia and was made a member of parliament in the Russian Duma. So the Russian state has been very clear in that they are unashamed about doing this, infiltrating Western countries with their spies, killing people on our shores with impunity. And so I think it's very, very important that we wake up to the reality. As you know, Rosanna, over many decades since the collapse of the Soviet Union, there were a lot of people in the city of London who made a hell of a lot of money from the very people that we are now fighting off in Ukraine, and the very people who we're talking about infiltrating our countries and attempting to steal our official secrets. So I hope we do take it more seriously than we have been today.
Yeah, part of me wonders whether all the interest in this, as part of a spy story, which people always find sort of sexy and glamorous and the like, will actually reignite people's interest in the Ukraine war, which of course still slogs on, and people just don't seem to be sort of focused on it as much anymore. Look, Konstantin, we'll have you on again, of course, to talk more about that, I'm sure, but thanks for your time.